Welcome to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference, empowering the good. And we get to kick it off with someone that Time Magazine has named one of the most 100 influential people in the world. And so we're honored to have Bassem Youssef. He is an Egyptian comedian, a writer, a producer, a heart surgeon, a television host. His book that's out right now is The Magical Reality of Nadia, and we'll talk all about that. But Bassem, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm in Los Angeles, and the stay-at-home order is being lifted, so we're happy. So I kind of got used to it. I'm just staying at home.
Well, let's start out with a little bit of your story, because you have a really powerful story, and then we'll talk all about this book that you've got some really big plans for as well. But give us a little bit of your history, because on your end, you went to school to become a heart surgeon. You got into kind of TV in terms of going through the internet, and you became one of the first to be able to convert an internet show to TV show. And give us a little bit of just your personal storyline.
Well, I was a doctor for 19 years, between 7 years of school and then 12 years as a heart surgeon. And I was getting ready to come to United States as a doctor, and I was actually accepted in a fellowship. And then we had the Arab Spring. Arab Spring changed everything, and I started to kind of make these YouTube videos inspired by Jon Stewart, making fun of the state-run media and the kind of lies that they spread between people and the fake news and all of that. And then I didn't think that would go anywhere. And then it exploded. And suddenly I found myself hosting a TV show, leaving medicine behind, because I had to leave medicine at some point, because I was still being a doctor, working as a doctor in the first few days of the show. And then, when you meet the patients in the morning round, part of them is oh, he's the comedian from the internet. And then the other part was is he going to operate on me? And then, so it's kind of I said, all right. So I had to choose, because I don't think there's a lot of trust here. So I continued with my job, my newfound destiny as a political satirist with a TV show. Millions of people watched it, millions of people hated it, millions of people loved it, depending on your political spectrum. And then I was, arrested, interrogated under one regime. I was canceled and had to flee under the other. And then I left everything and I came to America. So I'm here.
What was one of your favorite moments? Because you've had a chance to meet Jon Stewart. You've been compared, obviously, to Jon Stewart. I know he inspired you, but what's been one of your favorite moments? You've had a chance to host the international Emmys. You've done some really amazing things. What's one of your favorite moments personally?
Well, it was when I hosted Jon Stewart in Egypt. I have been on his show for me, but many people can say, hey, I was on Jon Stewart's show. But very few people can say, I actually hosted Jon Stewart. And he came to Egypt. And he loved it. He loved it. And the way that he was received in Egypt, people were going crazy. If you see the video, people kind of giving him a standing ovation for 2-3 minutes. And I remember Jon telling me after the show, I said, I could have never thought that a short Jewish guy from Jersey would have been received lovingly like this in the middle of Cairo. And it was kind of one of the highlights. I would say, you know what, I'm done, I'm validated, I can actually stop the show right now.
What's something that surprised you in a good way, getting to know him? I'm thinking his preparation, the way that he went about preparing, that you don't necessarily see, or get to see as a TV guest. What's something that surprised you in a good way, getting to know Jon Stewart?
The way that he lets everybody kind of be part of the process. I think the morning meetings of the Daily Show is one of the most inspiring things that I have ever seen. And I kind of this is, I think, one of the things that I took back to my show. And it's kind of this kind of democratic way of expressing yourselves. And from there, you get the ideas of how to write the show.
Was writing and comedy always something that you were interested in, or did it just kind of naturally evolve as you got older? And where did this kind of bug to do what you're doing, where did it start?
No, I just found myself into it. And I kind of but I used the nerdy days of being a doctor, kind of studying a process and getting into it and putting the work. I think it's kind of putting the work into anything that you do.
So let's go ahead and talk about this book. It's inspired by your daughter. And so there is some real life pieces to this, but you have some very magical pieces to this story as well. Before we talk all about the book, what led you to write the book? Let's start there.
So I was talking to Scholastic, the publishing house, and my agent said, like, you should write a children's book. I said, like, I don't have any idea about how to write a children's book. He said, like, well, you can write about your experience and see what your kids want to get out of it. So I did that. So, you know, I was inspired by my daughter. She is the daughter of an immigrant parents who came here to America. And there isn't that much material or children's book to talk about these kind of this part of our community, you know. So I thought, like, you know, the thing that I have noticed in America is that we're all different. We all come from different places, and I believe that being different is a source of strength, not a source of suspicion or a source of weakness. So I kind of like got that into the story where like Nadia is a middle school girl and she's in a school, but she's treated different from where she, because of what she comes from. But the people who treat her different don't really know that they also at a certain point were treated the same. So I kind of like created this device, which is like, you know, like the genie in Aladdin. You know, there's like Titi, like an ancient Egyptian history teacher who's locked in a pendant for 2,000 years, and he comes to life, and he takes her into this magical journeys in history, in ancient Egyptian history, which I'm obsessed with. So he takes her through all of these stories, and through going into trips and magical trips of the past, she knows how to deal with her present. And of course, so many details and cute details, and it's a very, very good book, I have to say. Kristen Daly, the wonderful co-author of this book, kind of like she breathed life into the characters, and I loved it. So I think it's a very entertaining book, and it's good not just for little children but also for adults. And it's a way to kind of like make people come together and understand that, you know, the reason this is a great nation is like how we come from totally different backgrounds, and I think we should actually continue to feed that, not to oppress it.
And you, with humor and creativity, tackle some very important issues. And you mentioned empathy, understanding that our differences make us stronger, and our past, you know, really is a powerful opportunity to build a future and build relationships. Prejudice, knocking down stereotypes. What are one or two of the major lessons that you want the family, so the parents and the children, to walk away after reading this book?
Well, I mean, we should all be proud from where we come from. I mean, the whole idea. I mean, there's a question that we as immigrants use in a negative way when people kind of ask you where you're from, and then we tell them where we're from. I'm from Los Angeles and Chicago, and then when people ask you where you're really from, and I find people, many immigrants, kind of like take that offensively, and I think we shouldn't. I think like if somebody asks you a question where you're from, I would give it the benefit of the doubt and say like they're curious. Now, if the second follow-up question is like get out of this country, well, now he's a racist. But like 99%, 90% of the time, people ask out of curiosity, and I think we shouldn't censor that. And I think if you come, if even if you're born from Chicago, but you look Asian or Arab, people ask you the question where you're from because they want to know your ethnicity, and I think that's fine if it is done in kind of an innocent way. And I don't think that we should not get angry when people ask us this way, because this is an indirect way of you saying that being anything else other than American is inferior to being American. You should, it's like, yes, we know it, I'm Japanese, but I happen to be born in Chicago, and my daughter is brought up here, and my son is born here, and I will always tell people you're Egyptian and you're born in Los Angeles. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think we should be proud of whatever heritage you have, whether you are Black, Asian, Arab, Italian, or Irish, because some even Italian and Irish at some point, a couple of hundred years ago, they were treated the same. And I think we should just be proud of where we come from, and while being also proud being part of this amazing canvas of people that we're here right now.
Absolutely. I know on social media, you've had a chance to bring your daughter to some of the book signings and things like that. And so what's it like for her to see her story come to life and to be a part of this?
Well, part of her is like she's a star. She has her name on a book, which is like very, you know, she's being very cheeky about it. But at the same time, she kind of criticized the book of not being accurate. I said, like, Nadia, this is not an autobiography. This is a fictionalized version of you, Nadia. So she's coming into terms with that, accepting it.
I know that there are plans, even in the works right now, to do even more in terms of this book and to turn it into a TV opportunity. And so you've had a chance to be on like DuckTales and some of those. And so talk about kind of the evolution of where this is headed.
Well, we have an incredible animation production house called Powerhouse, and they have done amazing work before. And they loved the book since it was just a draft. And so, like, this is made for animation, which is cool because as I was writing it, I thought of it as an animation. So we have a shopping agreement, and they are taking it out to the world, and hopefully we will find a place for it as an animated series somewhere.
When you look at the lessons that you've learned as an author, as a writer, you know, as someone who's been on TV, what words of encouragement would you give for others who are creatives trying to follow their dream, whether that's pursuing the world of TV, writing, just in general? What advice would you give them?
I mean, I kind of try to shy away from giving people's advice because I believe each one has his own unique experience. But all I did was just like put my hand down and put my head down and just like work and kind of like try to understand how things work. I mean, I'm now doing stand-up comedy and I travel a lot and I have like a tour outside the United States. And I never thought that I would do a stand-up comedy with the English language. And it was hard and still hard. And it doesn't come naturally because it's my second language. But you do it 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times until it gets part of you. So I think you just like, you know, sticking to what you do and trying to just put your head into it and wait for the best to come.
As a comedian, especially, and I think as a writer too, you put yourself out there, you become vulnerable. When you start sharing your story, especially personal, even for you and your family, you put it out there. What has that process been like? Has that been therapeutic? Has it been hard? What have you found on opening yourself up and putting yourself out there?
It's a mixture of both because some of my story is not really is not the happiest. It was not the happiest moment that I spent. So and there's like struggle of like, should I put it in a comedic form or should I put it in as it is and kind of like try to draw people in. So it's always been like choosing which part of my story and try to get it out there. Sometimes it was hard. It was hard to put it in a comedic form. Sometimes it was easier. And so yeah, I think it's a mixture of like being it's therapeutic and at the same time struggling with it in my mind. So because it wasn't an easy experience, and still it still isn't.
Is the process for you, especially with comedy, is it on more of the education side? Like I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write, I'm going to study, or is it more free flowing where whenever the inspiration hits you, it hits you, and that could be late at night or early in the morning? So is it a process that you say, I'm going to carve out this time and I'm going to study and I'm going to write and I'm going to craft it? Is it more labor intensive or is it more like just whenever the inspiration hits, I'm going to roll with it? What is your process for writing and for, especially for comedy?
As a doctor and as a nerd, it's more labor intensive, more putting in the work. But of course, if inspiration comes, you always like have this kind of phone or note, and you write the ideas as they come. But at the same point, I have to sit down and put the ideas on paper.
I think it's important for others just to hear that and to see you say that because, you know, for so many, they struggle on what's the process. I have this dream. I want to, you know, go in this route, but I don't know where to start. I don't know how to do it, the discipline. And, you know, when you start hearing people like yourself say, look, it's not as easy as I have to be disciplined. I have to follow this process. You then are able to inspire others who need to get over their own hurdles. So
Absolutely.
talk about on your end, where we can get the book. Once again, The Magical Reality of Nadia. So where do we get the book and how do we follow you? Where do we go?
Well, you can get it from Scholastic, or you can get it from Amazon. It's very affordable, like kind of $13 or something. And I hope that people can, you know, follow me at Bassem, as simple as that, on Instagram. And I have like shows coming up this weekend. If you guys in Houston hearing it anywhere, I would love you guys to come at the show, get to know more about me.
So, and carry that forward on just in terms of you traveling, seeing shows. What are some of the other things you're working on that we can follow you in the future on?
Well, There's the book, there's the comedy show, and if you guys, I'm also vegan. I know how it sounds. I'm Arab and vegan, which makes me scary and annoying. And I have like a website called plantb.tv. It's the only full Arabic and full English website. It has like, but it's a bilingual website for plant-based diet and teaching people how to eat and reverse their chronic diseases. So I kind of carried a little bit of my medicine with me.
What's one of your favorite meals to make? When you talk about a plant-based diet, what's your go-to meal?
Like a Buddha bowl, like a big bowl of salad where I put everything and just like eat it and just like enjoy it.
Well, once again, wrap up. Where do we go to follow you? Your website, social media, where do we go?
At Bassem, that's my Instagram, Bassem Youssef on Facebook. And my website, it's a cool website. It's bassemyoussef.xyz. It's not .com. It's bassemyoussef.xyz.
Well, Bassem Youssef, thank you for all you do. Greatly appreciate it. Best of success with the book and your future ahead. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.